Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Voices of the Vic podcast with myself, Joe Thomas. I'm going to be joined tonight by Mike Duffy as well, who is on his way back from the game himself tonight at Hull City. We're here to review the 1-1 draw from the game that finished a short while ago. It was a very interesting game this evening, as most of you may have seen. A dull first half, I think is fair to say. And then, things seem to sort of come to life in the second half. Mike and I will be discussing the team and then the match action. And, Mike even had a bit of a funny story as well. I think that he's going to drop in this evening. A bit of a funny old game. Just while we wait for Mike, I'll just sort of say my thoughts. I thought it was a very odd game. Again, I thought that Tom started with the wrong 11. He seems to be doing that quite frequently now. It's a bit of a shame that we're starting so many games so slow, I think. Mike, good to see you, mate. I know I've just been telling the guys you're driving back from the game this evening. I was just sort of saying, I think the wrong starting 11 was out tonight, and it was another slow start from us, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. First things first, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, mate. Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. Absolutely spot on. I think the wrong starting 11 was picked. I was very disappointed, actually, not to maybe see what we saw in the second half of QPR and go with that sort of flat back 4-2-3-1 and have, you've got the option of Vata and Bar on either side with Georgie through the middle. But if you're worried about the inexperience of Vata, then there'd be no qualms from my side of playing Inks over on that left-hand side. So, yeah, really disappointed with the starting 11 put out tonight, and hopefully Clevs can learn from it, because my God, we were lucky to come away with a draw. It almost feels like not daylight robbery, but it feels like robbery that we've come away with a draw there.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was it's, you know what, as I kind of put in our chat, I said, this scene is familiar with Watford now, where we're starting with the wrong starting 11, where the games are just terrible in the first half, and you're just expecting these people to come on and just muster something out of a game that seems lifeless, and I don't know how many times you can keep expecting these guys to do that. I mean, they're young players, they're still learning themselves. I would rather us try and go for it from the beginning, try and be like, maybe 1, 2, 3, ahead at half time. All right, if we're not, but at least we're showing signs that we're actually potentially going to do something in a first half. Whereas it's another game where Bio was just so frustrating, wasn't he, tonight? I can't believe how many times he got in people's way this evening. I think I counted 3, maybe 4 times where the ball was played into the box. And, well, I know one he was definitely shouted, because obviously Ince on half-time got really frustrated that he got in his way. But there was a couple of headers, and he just, he lost the ball as well tonight, and he just didn't. There was no urgency to win the ball back. But I know he's a bit isolated up there. But what did you think of his overall performance tonight, Mike Bio? We'll just go into that, I think.
It was obviously frustrating. It's typical Bio, isn't it, that he's obviously a very sort of frustrating player to watch at times. And I think the thing is as well, Joe, is he shows glimpses that he can do it, and he can be a sort of half decent, get the ball down on his chest, bring others into play, because we have seen that. And there are a couple of times, he was dropping deep, trying to get everyone back, like get other players into the game. But I lost count tonight, the amount of times that the Linos flag went off. And I don't know if you would have seen it watching at home as well, but in the second half, and Bar come on, there was a scenario where it was almost as if Bar and Bio weren't on the same page as to who was meant to be pressing, because Hull liked to play at back a lot, and their goalkeeper, we forced them quite a bit. We forced their goalkeeper to go long a couple of times, and I think he overhit a few passes and whatnot. So by all means, that should have been right. We need to press him and force him to play, because he'll either knock it out of touch or they'll have to go long. Because they did exactly that to us, and Batman was forced to go long, and it came back down our throats. But there was a period of time in that second half where you could tell that Bar and Bio were sort of squabbling between each other, as if to say, you need to go press him, and I'm pressing him. And then the other was saying, no, I'm pressing him, you're going to him. So it's very frustrating, but he's up there on his own. I was with my old man tonight, and he said to me, I tell you who I'd love back in January, and I'd have to agree, would be Keenan Davis, because he'd suit this system down to a ground.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what comes of that, because I've seen he's not been in the Udinese squad for, I don't know, he certainly didn't play the last game, and I don't think he played the game before either. So I don't know if he's injured. I'll be honest, I haven't really paid too much attention to what's going on with him, but I don't know whether he's fallen out of favour and is fallen down the pecking order, which could open up a move to us. But yeah, something's got to give, because I can't see Bio lasting for the rest of the season up front on his own like that. It's becoming more and more frustrating each week. And yeah, like you said, it's not his fault. I get it. He's up there on his own, but yeah. Just kind of going back to the starting 11 tonight. Obviously, Batman started in goal tonight. There were a couple of moments. I mean, I don't know if you would have seen clearly, Mike, up your end, but I know certainly he had a couple of moments, I think, in the first half where he tried to be clever on the ball. I don't know why he tried to do that tonight, because he nearly got dispossessed, didn't he, a couple of times? But at the same time, got to be thankful, because he made a couple of good saves, didn't he? One, albeit that was a corner that wasn't given. But yeah, I mean, his distribution not so good, but shot stopping again good tonight.
Yeah, do you know what frustrates me, Joe, is, like I just said, is the not knowing what to do and therefore going long, because every time we went long tonight, especially Backman, and especially when we were 1-0 down, and you could tell that we were just trying to, we obviously sort of threw away the scrapbook a little bit and was like, sod it, let's just go long, because we almost maybe ran out of ideas. But it frustrated the life out of me that we kept going long, because every time we did it, and Batman does it, there was a couple of times he went that long, it completely missed Bio and ran through to their goalkeeper. And he was like, yes, thank you, cheers, easy pickings. So, it's frustrating, because it's so easily preventable. And I tell you what else winds me up, and you would have seen it on TV tonight, is we had a goal kick. Sierralta's got the ball on the edge of the 6-yard box, and he passes it to the sides to Batman, who then takes a goal kick. And I'm like, what is all that about? Like, I really don't get it. But credit where credit's due. I mean, you said the goal was handball. It was the other end to us, so I had no idea that there was a hint of handball there. But credit to him, he made a big save at 0-0 as well. He sort of come out and made himself big, and ultimately that save has meant that we're coming away from Hull with a point tonight, because if he doesn't make that save, it's 2-0 and it's probably game over.
Yeah. Obviously you definitely wouldn't have seen it up your end, the handball. And in fairness, as the commentator said, it took them 4 or 5 times of watching it again to actually see it. It did look like it. When you saw the first 2 replays, it looked like it hit his hip and went in. But when you see it from the right angle, you can see it clearly hits off the hand and goes in the net. So it's a frustrating one. If VAR's in the Championship, it rules it out. But, excuse me, we don't have that luxury. So yeah, they got their luck and got the goal, and yeah, thankfully we ended up obviously coming away with the draw in the end. But going to the wing backs, Mike, for a team that hasn't played in, was it 11 days? I think now.
Yeah.
I can't believe that Ngakia and Larouci were preferred to what Clev's has been doing with Andrews and like Eberseli, especially when they've had such a long break. Obviously, I know we've got West Brom and Burnley coming up as our next two fixtures now, but to start with Ngakia and Larouci, I'm quite surprised. And for me, they didn't offer anything down those wings tonight. I didn't think they were overall. Their performance wasn't very good for me. What did you think of their overall performance?
Yeah, I agree with Ngakia. I disagree with him starting. Like your thoughts on him starting though. I thought when he came on against QPR, I thought he looked the player that we know Ngakia can be when he's not, injured. So I wasn't that bothered that he was starting. I was actually quite pleased that he was starting because hopefully he can get a bit of a run of games. And then I think 2 minutes in he was hacked down. So I thought, there we go, that's him out for the rest of the season. But touchwood, he's okay. But there's a lot of heavy strapping on his knee, quite similar to what we saw Tom Deli Basiru donning, which worries me a little bit. But yeah, no qualms with Ngakia starting. But yeah, poor game tonight, I think, and that's probably down to the fact that he's not played as much recently. And Yasser Larouci, I'm sorry, but we know he's got his problems defensively. But tonight, every time he got forward, you wouldn't have seen it because they won't show you you won't obviously have the view that we had in the stadium. But the acres of space that left-hand side had, and yet we seemed so reluctant to hit it. And when we did, Yasser Larouci was getting the ball, and instead of running at the man, he was, oh, shall I run at the man? Oh, I might do. And then he was like passing it back to the centre backs, and it was like, this is a team. We're playing a team. Yes, they've got a new manager, but we're playing a team who are bottom of the league, the lowest scorers in the league. Their confidence is on their arse. So why not just run at them? That's what frustrates me. So I was really disappointed with Yasser Larouci tonight. And I thought Eberseli come on and did all right. Didn't really play long enough to be able to sort of, judge him solidly. But it's a substitution that I was screaming out for earlier than it happened. So, yeah, a little bit disappointed on that front. Look, I was going to say that I think the subs were wrong tonight. I think largely they were wrong. But obviously one of the subs come on and scored, and it was because of two subs that goal happened. So, but I thought the substitutions were a bit odd other than the Vatter and Bar one. But yeah, wing backs tonight disappointed me. And I think against West Brom, I'd probably be looking at playing Andrews and Festi.
Yeah, I agree. And I won't really talk too much about the centre backs because I don't really think. I mean, it was a really weird game because I found myself in like the 70-something minute looking at the clock and thinking, and just looking down into the corner of the TV screen and noticing Pollock was on the pitch. I actually didn't really notice him do much tonight, to be honest. I was quite surprised. I was like, oh, wow, okay, Pollock is playing. But overall, I didn't. Serialta, I mean, there's just something about him. He's just not. He's come back from international duty, and he's just not really doing it for me. I'd much prefer. I'd much prefer the players to move over and Morris to come in. That left centre back role. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, do you know what? I've always been a big fan of Franny, as I like to call him, and he's been a stalwart in this side. And look back at the season in lockdown, he was at Chilean Rock, and we loved him. But I said at pre-season that he looked a bit shaky, and I was worried about how he was going to get on this season. And I think tonight, every time he got the ball, my heart was in my mouth a little bit, and he do you know what it is? He's just very slow with the ball. He's slow to release
Yeah,
it. He doesn't always pick the right pass. He looks sluggish. So, like you, for the next game, I can't see it happening, but for the next game, I'd absolutely do what you just said. I'd move Pollock over or whoever over, and I'd play Morris in that back three because I've been really, really impressed with Morris this season in that back three. But yeah, Sierra for me tonight, not good, very shaky. And if it was another team we were playing, and I mean that, I mean whoever's, I don't know, 23rd upwards, we would have been on the end of an absolute spanking tonight, and they would have absolutely ran Sierra ragged. So we got let off lightly, very lightly.
Yeah, the thing that annoyed me most, which I did put in our group chat, was the fact that they were giving João Pedro so much time on the ball.
Good player as well.
He looked quite useful, to be fair. I thought he had a decent game for them, and he obviously was frustrated not to get a corner and put one in on Porto in the just after that incident. But like he was doing all the things that you want a striker to do, wasn't he? Where he was just getting the ball on the running down the byline and just running into the corner, getting like silly throw-ins, but it obviously creates those opportunities when you put the ball back in to get a ball in the box and winning corners. And we just don't, we don't have that player that's really doing that at the moment. And I was just looking in awe, kind of thinking, it'd be nice to have a player that kind of did this and just chased those loose balls down and actually showed the desire to try and win those corners and throw-ins. But going into the midfield, obviously it was Kembe and Loser that started in central midfield tonight. I was obviously happy Loser was getting a start again because I think he's been doing well. I thought tonight, he did the best he could given the sort of the pattern the game was going. Obviously there was that situation with Palmer, wasn't there? Casey Palmer on just before half time, which was quite amusing. Obviously it was a definite foul. I don't know if you could see it from up your end, but he left one in on Loser, and Loser was fuming on the sideline. But he got up and then obviously went and pursued a little bit of a fight with him, and both. I thought it was going to get quite heated, and I actually thought one of them might end up with a red card. But thankfully, the referee kind of split it up. But were you impressed with Loser tonight, Mike?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Joe. I think he did the best that he could in the style of game it was today, because genuinely, and I'm not just saying this, I think the atmosphere in the stadium tonight was really poor from both teams up until the goals. You could at times genuinely hear a pin drop, and it reminded me of COVID. Well, I say reminded me, I wasn't at games in COVID times, but what I imagine games would have been like in stadiums when it was COVID times. And I just think it was really, really eerie. And look, a lot of that will be the fact that Hull have the worst home record in the league, and it was a cold and wet Wednesday night. But I think that didn't help. I thought the fracas on the halfway line might actually kick the game into life a bit, but it didn't. And then also what you've got to remember is he was booked in the first half. So it was the first half he was booked, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was about the 38th minute. It was. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had to play pretty much a half and a bit of football on a yellow card, but you might not have seen this watching on TV. Sorry, I keep saying that a lot, but it's just so weird, like seeing the text in the group chat to what I'm watching there in person. It's just like, wow, it really can be that different. But every time that we had the ball, or every time that Loser had the ball, he just wanted to get us forward. And as soon as that final whistle blew, he sort of collapsed to the floor and like smacked to the floor because he wasn't happy with the draw. He wanted more, and that is what we want. So, but he did as best as he could in the circumstances. I think a lot of times tonight he had the ball and he wanted to do something, but for one reason, the players weren't on the same page as him, and he was very frustrated because he saw a pass, but necessarily the player wasn't there. So, I felt a bit sorry for him. So, it's frustrating. So, I'm glad you're about to talk because I'm just about to pay to go over Humber Bridge. So,
oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a bit of the same at QPR. I think the final whistle went there, and he hit the floor there as well. He's, you can definitely see the passion and the hunger and desires back for Iranduza, and it's great to see. And I just hope that he gets his rewards with a goal soon, because I think his performances have deserved it of late. So yeah, hopefully that'll continue. But just moving over to Edo Kayembe, who played in midfield with him tonight. Again, like a bit of a strange performance from him. I thought I didn't really think much of him in that midfield position. He had a very quiet first half. I think he lost the ball a few times. The conditions in the game didn't really suit him tonight, and we mentioned it again. I'll say in our group chat, but I was very surprised to see that he survived the first round of substitutions, because I thought it was nailed on substitution that he would be coming off. Were you disappointed by his overall performance tonight, Mike?
Yeah, I'm hoping you can still hear me because my signal's quite low. But
yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Good stuff. You said you were surprised. Yeah, you and the however many were in the fucking away end tonight with us at Hull, and no other than Cam. He was dead surprised as well. But I don't know how he stayed on. Maybe it's because the options on the bench. I mean, Duomo was on the bench, wasn't he? So it's almost a bit of a kick in the teeth, because you've got someone that talented on the bench and you're a bit reluctant to use him. I don't really know why, because when we've seen him, he's done a good enough job. But yeah, Kayembe shouldn't have been on that long. But I sort of understand it maybe, because at that point we were sort of still chasing the game, and we were still sort of knocking on the door, and Klebs maybe wanted to make a few more attacking substitutions. But Kayembe's just slow, and I know we spoke about it the other week on the podcast, and we said that you said that Kayembe is maybe suited to more of a deeper role than that. He is, but even then, he's still quite slow, and it just seems whenever he got the ball, he was the complete opposite to what Loser was trying to do, and they didn't complement each other well tonight. I thought Kayembe slowed the game down a bit, and he's another one who can take too long in the ball sometimes and pick the wrong pass. So, yeah. Not impressed with Kayembe tonight, but the problem is, Joe, it's either Kayembe or Musa Sissoko, isn't it? So, yeah, it's frustrating either way.
Well, yeah. I mean, you say it's either one of them two, but like you just mentioned Duomo. I mean, it's for me, before the games, the team sheet comes out tonight, I'm looking at that game, and I'm going, why is Rocco Vata not potentially going to get a start tonight? Why is Duomo not going to get a start? Why is he not playing those players that are a bit younger? We're playing bottom of the league, low on confidence. As I pointed out in the chat that they mentioned on the telly, they were 11. They were 3 points in 11 games, one winning in that time. So, it's the perfect game for those sort of players to come in and kind of showcase what they can actually do, and kind of give Clevs a headache going into the weekend and going, well, actually, are these players ready, and could I start them at the weekend? Because, like I say, all we're seeing is like the rotation between Kayembe and Sissoko. Sissoko, for me, hasn't done it for a couple of weeks. He found a little bit of a burst of pace a few times when he came on tonight, which I was utterly stunned about. But, overall, from the pair of them over the last couple of weeks, I've been quite disappointed with them, if I'm being completely honest. We've had a comment from the Watford Way. He's just saying that was a tough watch. Start your best players, Tom. Festi, Vata, Bar not starting is really weird after 10 days rest. It's something that I've mentioned at the start again tonight. It's becoming really frustrating that we're not starting with our strongest 11 and then find ourselves having to climb our way through second halves and hoping that we're going to try and muster up something special just out of nothing. And just going on to something special, Mike. Chat for Catsy tonight, or Chat for Cats, as the commentator kept saying on the telly tonight. He was very frustrated this evening getting subbed. But Loser did the best he could with the way the game went. I think Chattercatty was the same. He was man marked. He didn't really get an opportunity to do much on the ball. When he did, he was fouled. But he was unlucky with that shot in front of you guys at the beginning of the second half that went just over. But yeah, I didn't think it was a typical Chattercatty performance tonight. I don't know what you thought. Oh, I think we've lost.
But still, every time he got the ball, you sort of thought, right, he's going to do something. Have you got me back?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate. Lost you a little bit just before, but got you back now.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I was saying it wasn't his greatest performance, but still, every time he got the ball, you sort of thought, oh, he's going to do something here. And he went on these marauding runs that he goes on. But time and time again, like we've spoken on this podcast, Joe, it's his end product. He either picks the wrong pass, holds on for it too long, or doesn't shoot. And yeah, that chance right in front of us was very close, a whisker over, and I thought it's going to be one of them nights. But I was very surprised to see his number held up. But at the end of the day, he wasn't going to bring Bio off, so maybe it made sense. But yeah, it wasn't to be for Chuck tonight, but still got bums off seats whenever he got the ball going forward, though.
Yeah. And just a quick mention on Tom Ince. I won't really say too much. I didn't think he offered much in the first half. I thought he kind of grew into the game a little bit in the second half, but not much more than what he did in the first half. I thought it was a kind of bit of a laboured performance from him over the time he was on the pitch, don't you think?
Yeah, I think I was firstly more wondering what sort of reception he might get tonight, considering he's played for Hull. But you wouldn't be able to tell when he touched the ball. There wasn't even a slight sort of whisker of a boo or a cheer or a little ripple of applause. So that was the first thing. But he does all right. You can tell he's obviously lost that sort of pace and speed that he did once sort of possess. But yeah, it was a sort of nothing performance for him. I thought he could have maybe got a shot away a couple of times and was a bit reluctant to hold on. Well, a bit reluctant to shoot a couple of times. But yeah, he did all right. But it was one of them. He did okay, but not amazing. So yeah, not much to say on Tom really. But he's a professional at the end of the day. He does what's needed.
Yeah, of course. And just mentioning the goals, then obviously Hull got very lucky, as we mentioned previously. They had the fortune of it going in off the hand. That was very frustrating. Bidia was the man that got the goal. I can't remember who it was that got the assist. I think it was Melem who'd come on. And he tried to shoot, and it was going wide, and they got the luck from the deflection that went in off the hand. Obviously, I think it's fair to say, Mike, that Watford and Quadro Bar proved how easy it would have been tonight had we potentially had him and Vassar on from the start. The link up between the two of them for the goal, how easy it was, him running down the byline as he's done so many times this season, and actually, the pass into the box was perfect, and Vassar with the finish into the net. I thought it was a superb run, great finish, and just an easy bit of play against a poor side. And if we'd have done that from the start, then we could have won this comfortably tonight. Do you think and agree with that?
Yeah, it's definitely, because we saw when Vata come on what he can do. and I think that's why everyone's so frustrated. So it's definitely a difficult sort of thing to understand Tom's thinking behind the team selections. So you caught me at a really bad time then, because the motorway that I was taking suddenly threw up a sign that said road closed, and it's made me go another way, and I'm now in the arse end of nowhere, sort of not knowing where I am, and I just took a right turn and ended up on a farmer's field. So luckily the sat nav sort of rejigged itself now, so I think I'm on the homeward bound. But yeah, no, of course, look, this is why it's more frustrating, Joe, that he's not picking the right team to start with, because Vata comes on and does that. Imagine Vata gets a full 90 minutes, or do you know what? At this stage, I'd even be happy with a 60 minutes from Vata, like
Well,
to start
exactly.
his game. So
Exactly.
that's the frustrating thing at the moment, Joe. And hopefully, and I say that with bated breath, it's given Plebs a bit of food for thought for Sunday, because Sunday we're going to be up against it, against the Baggies. Believe you me. How did they get on tonight? Did they draw, or did they actually win?
No, they got 3 points tonight, and
Wow.
apparently it was a very good performance according to Sky Sports. Gareth Ainsworth was watching, and he said that they played really well. Their XG on goals was very low, but they managed to get 2 goals and they beat Coventry 2-0.
Their tails will be up coming to Vicarage Road. You know, it won't bother them about this unbeaten run that we've been on. So yeah, it's going to be. I would say it's going to be one of the toughest home games that we've come up against in recent
Definitely.
weeks. So
yeah, definitely is. I think that's. I can't remember how many they said now. It was either 12 or 14 unbeaten for them now. So they're on a really good run. I know we're 5 now, but yeah. I mean, just a quick mention, Mike, just before we go. I'll just see the table come up on the screen. We're obviously 19 games in. We've got a game in hand over nearly everyone above us. Blackburn have obviously got a game in hand. 31 points on the board. I mean, it's a disappointing result tonight, obviously not beating Hull, but I mean, 31 points after 19 games. If someone would have offered that at the beginning of the season, you'd have probably snapped their hand off.
oh, absolutely, you would have, especially Joe, with the squad that we've got. I think the fact that we all sat on a podcast at the start of the season when we did our predictions and said, I think with the highest vote or the highest position someone give us, it might even have been you, to be fair, Joe, was 20th. So the fact that Clevs is doing that with the squad that he's got, it's remarkable. But this whole talk about playoffs in the back of my mind, could we? It keeps springing up. Like, oh, if we're going to do it, it'll be under Clebs. But you can't help think that coming away from Hull City, who are bottom of the league with the worst home record in the division, and coming away thinking that was a real smash and grab, you sort of need to be winning them games quite comfortably. And Hull fans, and rightly so, will be on the way home tonight and in their cars and doing their equivalent to this. They'll be questioning how the fucking hell are Watford pushing for top 6 this season, because we don't play like a team that are pushing for top 6. So yeah, but don't get me wrong, to be where we are with the squad we got is absolutely phenomenal. Hope you caught all that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you've got to kind of flip it though at the same time and just kind of think, well, they've got a new manager. I did mention this. Hull have got a new manager. We've been talking for the last couple of days that, new manager bounce, and we kind of expected, Hull players to be a little bit more up for it. If this, as I said, if this game had been last Wednesday, it might have been a different scenario. They've not got the manager. They're still playing shit. And, we're obviously, we were playing well. I say playing well. We've not really been playing too well, have we, over the last few weeks? But we've been managing to grind out some results. I mean, it would have been quite funny actually, because obviously, Cardiff was postponed at the weekend, regrettably for you. but they've just obviously got a new manager as well, and I say new, but he's been made permanent, isn't he? And they were absolutely atrocious tonight, and I kind of feel that that's a missed opportunity there because they're playing so poorly at the moment. That could have been 3 points on the board for us, and looking a little bit healthier in the table, we would have been 6 with that, and we're quite lucky at the moment. Looking at the actual table here, is we're 4 points ahead of Swansea in 9th position. So there's just that little bit of a gap and breathing space opening up, and the kind of a bit of a top 8 and then the rest kind of thing at the moment is quite tight for teams down the bottom. So if we can just keep picking up results at home and doing our best away and just trying to get the odd win and draw away from home, we could still do it, Mike. Don't you think?
Yeah, quite possibly. And to be fair, mate, this is where you might lose me because I literally am in the middle of nowhere now. So my signal's a bit back. But yeah, you never know. Like you say, it's about creating that gap, isn't it? And sort of having a mini table within the league. You saying before about having that mini table and coming up against teams in your sort of mini table, like. So, yeah, it's just frustrating, as you say, that Saturday didn't go ahead because how did Cardiff actually get on tonight? What was the score?
They lost 2-0 at home to Preston.
Right, okay, so yeah, but like you said, it's important that we're creating those gaps. So the fact that we're still 7th, right?
No, we're 8th at the moment on goal difference.
We're 8th. So we're 8th, but there's a 4-point gap for the team below us. So ultimately, that's what you want. And we've got a tricky run of games coming up. But Joe, if we can win those, then we deserve to be where we are. So let's just see what it might bring.
Yeah, well, I'll take 2 points now out of the next 2 games, West Brom and Burnley, and then we've got Portsmouth, Cardiff, QPR, and I know Cardiff, QPR they're 19th now. They beat Oxford at home tonight, so they're getting out of that relegation scrap. But ultimately, there's 3 teams in the bottom 6 there, and 2 of them are at home. So yeah, there's opportunity still to get some points on the board going into the new year, and before that, another big game at Vicarage Road against Sheffield United, who are currently top of the league after beating Millwall tonight. So, yeah. Well, we'll wrap things up there, guys. Mike, thanks for coming on, mate. Obviously, I know you're driving back. Safe journey for the rest of your trip. And, yeah, thanks ever so much for tuning in, guys. Do hit that subscribe button. We are trying to get the number as close to, or if not above 600 before Christmas. We've got a couple of weeks to go, so if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. You'll get notifications every time we go live, and give us a like as well if you've tuned in and like that. But yeah, we'll be back. Mike's got a release of a preview to the West Brom game coming out tomorrow. He spoke to someone from West Brom pod yesterday. I understand he was a real gentleman. Apologies, Mike, I can't remember his name, if you want to just mention him.
Adrian Goldberg. He's from the Liquidator podcast, and he was also a radio DJ on the local BBC regional station to where I grew up, so BBC Radio WM. So I actually grew up listening to him on the radio, but a real top bloke. And it's out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from, at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So just in just a few hours.
Lovely. Cheers, Mike. Well, listen, thanks ever so much, guys, for tuning in. And as I say, we're back tomorrow with that, and then we'll also be back at the weekend for a review of the West Brom game as well. Take care, guys.